The mop handle cracked against the first attacker's wrist with surgical precision. In the gleaming marble lobby of Kensington Tower, Chicago, four armed men had surrounded a woman in a pristine white dress. Crystal chandeliers cast golden pools of light across Italian marble floors, polished to a mirror finish. September rain hammered against 40-foot glass windows, turning the skyline into a watercolor of blurred lights and shadows. This was the kind of place where power announced itself in whispers, where executives in $1,000 shoes never bothered to look down, which meant they never saw the man pushing the mop. Beckett Cole had been invisible for 6 weeks. It was a practiced invisibility, perfected through 15 years of intelligence work and refined through absolute necessity. At 36, he possessed the kind of forgettable face that had saved his life more times than he could count. Brown hair, neither too long nor too short. Eyes that shifted between green and gray depending on the light. A build that was strong but never imposing. The blue maintenance coveralls might as well have been an invisibility cloak. In a building full of people who measured worth by job titles and stock portfolios, a janitor ranked lower than furniture. Furniture at least held value. But Beckett saw everything. He saw the security guard who had grown lazy, more focused on basketball highlights than actual surveillance. He mapped the blind spots where cameras failed to reach. He noted the emergency exits that hadn't been tested in months. He cataloged every vulnerability in a building that housed secrets worth billions. And he saw the four men who didn't belong. They had appeared 3 weeks ago, always in pairs, never together as a group. They wore different disguises each day, vendor badges, maintenance uniforms, delivery company logos. But their eyes betrayed them. Those were hunters' eyes, constantly scanning, evaluating, measuring distances and obstacles. Tonight they had stopped pretending. The leader stood apart from the others, older, perhaps 50, with silver threading through dark hair and a suit that actually fit properly. He moved with the easy confidence of someone who belonged anywhere he chose to be. His smile was practiced and warm. Victor Raines, the one who got close, the one who smiled right until the moment he struck. He had cornered Vivian Ashford near the executive elevators. The CEO of Prometheus Dynamics stood frozen in her pristine white dress, dark hair pulled back in an elegant style, heels planted on marble that cost more than most people's annual salary. The building held 20 people in the lobby. Not one of them noticed what was happening. The security guard scrolled his phone. Executives checked their watches. Civilians went about their business, oblivious to the violence coiling to strike. Beckett pushed his mop bucket forward. The wheels squeaked against marble. All 5 of them turned to look. The transformation happened in a heartbeat. The slouch vanished. The shuffling gait became perfect balance. The forgettable face sharpened into something harder, something dangerous. Constantine moved first. His hand cleared his jacket, revealing a matte black pistol. Beckett's mop handle snapped up and around in a tight arc, catching the man's wrist with a crack that echoed through the lobby. The gun spun across polished marble. Constantine howled, cradling shattered bones. Yuri was already moving, pulling a knife that caught chandelier light. Beckett pivoted, using the mop's reach advantage. Wet strings wrapped around the man's ankle. A sharp pull sent him crashing to the floor, glasses skittering away, knife clattering beyond reach. Dimitri came from the left, fast, low, trained. Beckett met him with the bucket, swinging it like a medieval flail. The impact sent soapy water exploding everywhere. Dimitri stumbled backward, temporarily blinded by shock and soap. All of this took less than 5 seconds. People started screaming. Phones emerged, recording everything. The security guard finally looked up, mouth falling open in disbelief. Victor Raines hadn't moved. He stood perfectly still, watching Beckett with cold assessment born from decades of violence. His hand rested inside his jacket, but he hadn't drawn his weapon. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called police. Rains made his decision. He raised his hand, signaling to his wounded men. They withdrew, melting into the Chicago night just as the first police cruiser screeched to a halt outside. Professional to the end. But before disappearing, Rains turned back. His eyes found Beckett's across the chaos. "Take care of yourself, Mr. Cole, and your daughter." Beckett's blood turned to ice. They knew about Wren. The lobby swirled with confusion, police flooding in, witnesses pointing and explaining, theories forming that would land nowhere near truth. Through it all, Vivian Ashford stood frozen, her white dress still pristine, her composure cracking for the first time in years. She stared at the man who had just saved her life, the janitor she had walked past hundreds of times without seeing, the invisible man who had taken down 4 armed assassins with nothing but a mop and 47 seconds. "Who are you?" Beckett picked up his mop. He couldn't afford visibility. Not now. Not with Wren's safety hanging in the balance. Nobody important. Just the guy who cleans up messes. He turned to walk away, but his phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text was simple, devastating. "This isn't over. She has something we need. Deliver her in 72 hours or your daughter pays the price." Beckett stared at the screen. In his mind, he saw Wren, 7 years old, dark curls bouncing with endless energy, eyes that sparkled with her mother's mischief, the blue protection bracelet she had made him, still tied around his wrist. "For protection, Daddy. So you always come home." They were threatening his little girl. The janitor was about to become something far more dangerous. 6 weeks earlier, Beckett Cole had been someone else entirely, a federal intelligence operative, the kind they deployed when diplomacy collapsed and war wasn't an option. He had spent 15 years navigating shadows, completing missions that kept ordinary people safe without ever knowing danger existed. Then Sarah got sick. Stage 4, aggressive, the kind of diagnosis that transformed the future into a countdown. Beckett quit the agency without hesitation. He spent every remaining moment with her, held her hand through treatments that failed, watched the light fade from her eyes over 18 agonizing months. She died on a Tuesday. Wren was 4 years old. That was 3 years ago. 3 years of being a single father, 3 years of birthday parties and bedtime stories and school drop-offs, 3 years of learning that the hardest mission wasn't infiltrating enemy compounds. It was raising a daughter alone. He had accepted this assignment because it allowed him to be home for dinner every night. Simple surveillance work, document security vulnerabilities at Prometheus Dynamics, file reports, stay invisible. But the night after the lobby incident, invisibility was no longer possible. Beckett stood in his modest apartment, watching Wren sleep. She was sprawled across her bed, surrounded by stuffed animals. Dark curls spread across the pillow. Her matching blue bracelet visible on her tiny wrist. She looked so much like Sarah it made his chest ache. His phone buzzed, his former handler at the agency. "I saw the news footage. Cover's blown. You need to come in." "Can't." They threatened Wren. A long pause. "Then I'll send backup. No agency involvement. This stays off the books." "Beckett, you can't take on an international consortium alone. Watch me." He hung up and dialed another number from memory. It rang twice. "Yeah." The voice was rough, suspicious. "Thorne. It's Cole." Another pause. "Thought you were dead." "Might be soon. I need an extraction. My daughter. Tonight." "What kind of trouble?" "The kind that watches little girls through hidden cameras." Thorne cursed in 3 languages. "Give me the details. I'll handle it." Beckett rattled off information, then added one final thing. "Her name is Wren. She's 7. She's everything, Thorne. Everything I have left. I'll keep her safe. You have my word." The line went dead. Beckett looked at his daughter one more time. Then he grabbed his gear and headed into the night. The next morning found Beckett mopping the 32nd floor of Kensington Tower, the executive level, Vivian Ashford's domain. He had been reassigned here after the incident, officially additional cleaning support. Unofficially, someone wanted him where the CEO could see him. He was working near her corner office when she emerged. She stopped, stared. "You're still here. Floors don't mop themselves." "That's not what I meant." She hesitated. Something flickered across her face. Uncertainty, vulnerability, emotions that didn't belong on a Fortune 500 CEO. "I never thanked you for last night. You could have died. Part of the job. Mopping includes taking down armed assassins." Beckett paused his work. For a moment the mask slipped. "Sometimes the job is whatever needs doing." Vivian studied him with new understanding. Past the coveralls, past the mop, past every assumption she had made about people in service roles. "What's your name?" "Your real name?" "Beckett. Beckett Cole." "Beckett." She said it like tasting something unexpected. "I'm Vivian. Not Ms. Ashford, just Vivian." It was the first time in 6 years she had introduced herself as simply a person, not a CEO, not a title, not a target, just Vivian. An unspoken understanding formed between them in that moment. Recognition, perhaps, or the beginning of trust, or something neither was ready to name. That evening, Beckett picked up Wren from her after-school program. She bounced into the car clutching a drawing, a 7-headed dragon protecting a princess in a tower. "Daddy, look! Mrs. Patterson said it's the most creative dragon she's ever seen." 7 heads? That's significant responsibility for one dragon. That's what makes it special. She buckled herself in, then grew serious. "Daddy, you have your worried face." "I don't have a worried face." "Yes, you do. It's the face you make when you're trying to protect everyone at once." This child saw too much, just like her mother. "There's someone at work who might need help. Is she nice?" "I don't know yet." Wren considered this with 7-year-old gravity. "Daddy, remember what Mommy used to say? About broken crayons?" Beckett's throat tightened. "They still color. Maybe this lady is like a broken crayon, still good inside. Just needs someone to see the colors." She paused, grinning. "Is she pretty?" "Wren. Because if she's pretty and nice and needs protecting, maybe she could be my new mommy." "That's not how it works, sweetheart. That's exactly how it works in fairy tales." That night, after Wren fell asleep, Beckett examined the phone he had lifted from Constantine during the fight. Inside, he found photographs of classified Prometheus Dynamics documents. Pictures taken from inside Vivian's inner circle, the angle, the lighting, the access required. These weren't captured by an outsider. In one reflection, half hidden in a computer screen, Beckett recognized a face. Dr. Nathan Cross, Prometheus's chief technology officer, Vivian's mentor and closest friend for 10 years. Cross had developed the company's breakthrough technology, a quantum encryption algorithm worth billions. 6 months ago, he had quietly memorized the entire algorithm, then corrupted all digital copies with an untraceable virus. The algorithm now existed in only one place, Nathan Cross's mind. And Cross had been feeding information to Victor Reigns for months. The full picture crystallized with devastating clarity. Cross had made Vivian the target. While every intelligence agency hunted her, believing she controlled the technology, Cross prepared his escape: a yacht, offshore accounts, new identity. He would auction the algorithm to the highest bidder from international waters, and Vivian would take the fall for everything. Beckett called her at midnight. "We need to meet. Somewhere private. Do you know what time it is? I know who betrayed you, and I know they're going to kill you within 72 hours if we don't move." Silence stretched across the line. Grant Park, the lakefront, 30 minutes. They met on a bench overlooking Lake Michigan. The city glowed behind them. October wind cut through their jackets. The water stretched black and endless toward the horizon. Vivian had traded her CEO armor for jeans and a coat. Her hair hung loose. Her face was scrubbed clean of makeup. She looked younger, human. Beckett showed her everything. The photos, the connections, the timeline of Nathan Cross's betrayal. She listened in silence. When he finished, she stared at the black water for a long time. 10 years. Her voice cracked. He was there when my father died. He held me while I cried. He helped me become CEO. And the whole time, he was setting me up, making you the target while he escapes. The armor she had worn for 6 years finally gave way. Tears streamed down her face. Everyone I trust betrays me. Everyone I let close uses me. My father warned me. In business, you can't afford a heart, Vivian. Hearts get you killed. Your father was wrong. How would you know? Because I've watched you for 6 weeks. Beckett met her eyes. I've seen how you treat the cleaning staff when you think no one's watching. The anonymous scholarships you fund. The flowers you send when someone's family's hurting. You have more heart than anyone in that building. You just learned to hide it to survive. No one notices those things. I notice everything. That's my job. He paused. But with you, it stopped being just the job. She looked at him, really looked. At the man beneath the janitor's uniform, at the intelligence in his eyes, at the quiet strength that had nothing to do with physical violence. So what do? We take down Cross. Together, we set a trap, make him think the algorithm is compromised, force him to surface. And your daughter? You said they threatened her. Beckett's jaw tightened. I have a friend, former Delta Force. He's extracting her tonight. But Thorne's extraction hit a wall. Someone leaked the safe house location. Beckett's network had been compromised, which meant he had no choice. He had to bring Wren to the planning session at Vivian's penthouse. Vivian froze when she saw the child. She wasn't comfortable with children. Her own childhood had been boardrooms and balance sheets, not bedtime stories and scraped knees. But Wren had other plans. She marched directly to Vivian, held up her drawing. You're the lady Daddy's protecting. Look, I made this. The dragon is Daddy, see? 7 heads because he sees everything. And you're the princess. I'm not really a princess. You look like one. Wren tilted her head, studying Vivian with unnerving intensity, but not the waiting to be rescued kind. You're the kind who fights her own dragons. She paused. But you look tired, like you've been fighting alone for a really long time. The armor Vivian had rebuilt crumbled again. A tear escaped before she could stop it. I have been, for a very long time. Wren took her hand, small fingers wrapped around elegant ones. That's okay. You don't have to fight alone anymore. Daddy's really good at fighting, and I'm really good at hugs. She wrapped her arms around Vivian's waist. Vivian stood frozen for a moment, then slowly, hesitantly, she hugged back. Over Wren's head, she met Beckett's eyes. Something shifted between them. Something that had nothing to do with algorithms or assassins or survival. Something like hope. Later that night, after Wren had fallen asleep on the couch, Vivian sat watching her. She's remarkable. How does she see so much? Beckett sat beside her. Her mother was the same way. Sarah could look at someone for 5 seconds and know their whole story. You must miss her every day. He paused. But she told me something before she died. She made me promise to keep living, to let someone else in eventually. She said Wren would need a mother someday, and I shouldn't let guilt stop me from finding one. Vivian was quiet for a long moment. Wren stirred in her sleep, mumbling something. They both leaned closer. The princess and the dragon, she murmured. They're the same. Both protect, both fight, both lonely until they find each other. She settled back into peaceful sleep, unaware of the profound truth she had just spoken. Vivian wiped her eyes. Out of the mouths of children, she sees what we're too scared to admit. And what's that? That broken things can still be beautiful, that lonely people can find each other, that sometimes the person who saves you isn't wearing armor. He looked at her. Sometimes they're wearing a janitor's uniform. Sometimes, she whispered, they're wearing a white dress and pretending they don't need saving at all. But hope was fragile, and their enemies were closing in. Beckett's phone rang. Director Shen Lihua, Chinese intelligence, the shadow behind Victor reigns. Mr. Cole, we've been patient, but patience has limits. What do you want? Vivian Ashford, Nathan Cross, the algorithm. You have 48 hours to deliver all three. And if I refuse, then we take what we want anyway, starting with your daughter. The line went dead. Beckett stared at the phone. In his mind, he saw Ren's face, her bright eyes, the blue bracelet on her tiny wrist. For protection, Daddy, so you always come home. He looked at Vivian, who was watching Ren sleep. The child had started a new drawing in her dreams, fingers twitching against an imaginary page. 48 hours to save everyone he loved. The invisible man was about to step into the light. The plan was insane, which meant it might actually work. Vivian's penthouse occupied the 32nd floor. The Japanese consul lived on the 34th, with a private helipad and a Bell 407 helicopter he used for weekend trips to his Wisconsin lake house. The consul was in Tokyo. His helicopter was not. Before leaving the penthouse, Beckett had contacted his former handler. Full disclosure, everything about Cross, Shen, the algorithm, the entire conspiracy. In exchange for one thing, FBI tactical support on standby. They wired Vivian before she ever climbed into that maintenance shaft. Every word spoken from this point forward would transmit to a mobile command center 3 miles offshore. They climbed through the shaft between floors. Beckett first, then Vivian, her designer clothes ruined, her manicured nails broken, her CEO facade completely shattered. She had never looked more real. They emerged onto the roof just as the first bullet sparked off concrete 3 feet from Vivian's head. Down! Beckett tackled her behind the helicopter's landing gear. More shots followed, suppressed rounds making soft thuds against the fuselage. The shooter was positioned on the building to the north. Professional placement. But wind at this height was playing havoc with accuracy. Can you get to the pilot's seat? While someone's shooting at us? The angle's wrong. Stay low. Go around the nose. Start the pre-flight sequence. I don't know how to fly a helicopter. You don't need to fly it. Just start it. Big red button. Then flip every switch that lights up. Vivian stared at him like he had lost his mind. Then she nodded and scrambled around the aircraft's nose. Beckett counted seconds between shots. 3 to 4 seconds. The shooter was adjusting for wind each time. The helicopter's engine began to whine. Rotors started their slow rotation. Beckett broke from cover between shots. Running low. Running fast. The shooter tried to track him, but missed. By the time the next round came, Beckett was already in the pilot's seat. Hold on! The helicopter lifted off just as 3 men burst through the roof access door. Weapons raised. Too late. They were already 30 feet up and climbing. Behind them, Chicago spread out like a circuit board of lights. Below, Thorne's van was pulling out of the parking garage. Ren was inside, clutching her dragon drawing, trusting that Daddy would make everything okay. Beckett banked hard, threading between buildings, using urban canyons as cover. "This is insane," Vivian shouted over rotor noise. "This is Tuesday." Despite everything, she laughed, the first genuine laugh he had heard from her. They flew low over Lake Michigan, leaving city lights behind, heading for Belmont Harbor, heading for Nathan Cross. They tracked Cross to his yacht at Belmont Harbor, the Quantum Ascent, a 60-foot vessel with full electronic suite and satellite communications. Everything needed to sail to international waters and vanish forever. Beckett swam through freezing October water. Lake Michigan in autumn was brutal, cold enough to steal breath, cold enough to kill, but he had endured worse. He pulled himself onto the dive platform, water streaming off tactical gear. 3 guards on deck, professional positioning, overlapping fields of fire. But they watched the dock, not the water. People rarely look down. The first guard went down silently. Chokehold, zip ties. The second was trickier, positioned midship with good sightlines. But the yacht's superstructure created blind spots. Beckett had exploited blind spots his entire career. The third guard sensed something. He was already turning when Beckett's strike landed. Not fatal, but enough. 3 down. 30 seconds elapsed. He found Nathan Cross in the main salon, surrounded by laptops, offshore banking interfaces glowing. The man who had built an empire of lies was preparing final escape. "Hello, Nathan." Cross spun. Recognition flooded his face. "The janitor. Vivian sent you?" Vivian stepped out of shadows, soaking wet, shivering, but standing tall. "I sent myself." Cross's face cycled through shock, fear, and cold calculation. "You don't understand. The algorithm is too powerful for any government. Banking, defense, communications. Whoever controls it controls everything. I was trying to protect the world by selling it to the highest bidder, by making me the target, by ensuring no single nation dominated." Vivian's voice dropped to ice. "And my father, did protecting the world include killing him?" Cross went pale. "He found out, didn't he?" She stepped closer. "He discovered what you were planning, and he died of a heart attack 3 days later." Cross's silence was confirmation enough. Vivian lunged at him. Beckett caught her arm. "Not like this. He needs to face justice. Public justice. But justice would have to wait." Victor Raines's mercenaries swarmed the yacht from the dock. Director Shen's team arrived by speedboat. Everyone converged at once. Guns drawn, everyone wanting the algorithm, and in the middle of it all, Shen held up a tablet. Live footage. The Wisconsin safe house. Thorne unconscious on the floor. Wren being held by armed men. Beckett's world narrowed to that image. His baby girl, scared, alone. "Let her go," his voice cracked. "Take me instead." "I'll cooperate. Daddy's little protector?" Shen smiled coldly. "How touching. But I think we'll keep her as insurance." Vivian stepped forward. "Director Shen, I have a counter-proposal." Everyone turned. "The algorithm exists only in Nathan's head. Kill him, it dies with him. Let him go, he disappears. But there's something you don't know." She took a breath. Nathan didn't trust himself completely. He created a backup, a dead man switch that activates if he doesn't check in every 72 hours. Cross's expression confirmed truth. "I know where the backup is," Vivian said. "Give me Beckett's daughter, and I'll give you the location." "Vivian, no. You'd betray your country for a janitor's child?" Shen asked, genuinely curious. "I'd betray the whole world for one innocent little girl." Vivian's voice rang with conviction. "Because she's not a pawn, she's not leverage, she's not a number on a balance sheet, she's a child, and I'm done pretending that doesn't matter more than any of this." What Shen didn't know was that this had been the plan all along. Every word she spoke, every confession Cross made, had been transmitted to FBI Tactical Command 3 miles offshore. They had been waiting. Helicopters dark and silent over the lake. Boats positioned at every exit. Agents ready to move the moment they had enough evidence for international charges. And now they had it. Shen realized too late. Her eyes widened as the first helicopter's searchlight blazed to life, illuminating the yacht in harsh white light. "You planned this," she said, staring at Beckett. "All of it. You threatened my daughter." His voice was ice. "Did you really think I wouldn't have a backup plan?" Federal agents swarmed from boats, helicopters, the dock itself. Overwhelming force. Nowhere to run. Director Shen Lihua. "You're under arrest for conspiracy, espionage, and kidnapping. You have the right to remain silent." Victor Raines stood apart from the chaos, watching the scene unfold with cold calculation. His men were being arrested around him, but he hadn't moved, hadn't reached for a weapon. He was too smart for that. "Mr. Cole," his voice cut through noise. "Impressive. Truly. I underestimated you." Beckett turned to face him. "You underestimated her." Raines glanced at Vivian. "Perhaps. But this isn't over. Algorithms can be recreated. Technologies rebuilt. In 5 years, someone else will develop." "No." Vivian stepped forward. "Because I'm going to spend the next 5 years ensuring quantum encryption is regulated internationally. Transparent, controlled. No more shadow wars over mathematics." An FBI agent approached with handcuffs. Raines extended his wrists with the calm dignity of a man who had been captured before and escaped before. "Until next time, Mr. Cole." "There won't be a next time." Cross tried to flee. Beckett caught him with one punch, all his rage channeled into that single blow. For Sarah, who never got to see their daughter grow up. For Ren, who had been used as a pawn. For Vivian's father, murdered to protect secrets. That's for everyone you hurt. He watched Cross crumple to the deck. And this is for making her think she couldn't trust anyone. The Wisconsin team surrendered within minutes. Thorne's report came through the radio. "Package secure. Kid's fine. Scared but fine. She wants to talk to you." Beckett took the phone with shaking hands. "Baby girl? Daddy!" Ren's voice trembling but brave. "I knew you'd come. I told them. I said my daddy would save me because he's a shepherd and shepherds always protect their sheep." "That's right, sweetheart. Daddy's here. Everything's okay now. Did you save the princess? Did you beat the bad dragons?" Beckett looked at Vivian. Tears streamed freely down her face for the first time since her father's death. "Yeah, sweetheart. We saved her." "Good." She paused. "Daddy, can she come live with us? The princess? Because I think she needs a family, and we have extra room since Mommy went to heaven." Beckett couldn't speak. His throat was too tight. "We'll talk about it, baby girl. I promise." 1 week later, Kensington Tower's lobby gleamed in morning light. Cross was in federal custody. Director Shen had been expelled and faced charges in 3 nations. Victor Raines was cooperating with investigators in exchange for a lighter sentence. Vivian had announced permanent destruction of the algorithm, too dangerous for anyone to possess. The board had tried to stop her. She reminded them she owned 51% of the company. The algorithm was gone, burned, scattered, impossible to reconstruct. She found Beckett in the lobby. He was mopping. "You're still doing that?" "Old habits." She took the mop from his hands. "I've been offered positions at 6 companies since this broke. Board seats, partnerships. Everyone wants the CEO who took down an international conspiracy. Congratulations." "I turned them all down." She stepped closer. "Because none of them could offer what I actually want." "And what's that?" "Someone who sees me. Not the CEO, not the money, not the title. Just me." Beckett looked at her. This woman who had fought dragons alone for 6 years, who had risked everything for a child she barely knew, who had finally let someone see past her armor. "Vivian, I'm a janitor. I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 2-bedroom apartment and exactly $847 in savings." "I know." I can't give you anything close to what you're used to. She took his face in her hands. Beckett, you gave me something I haven't had in 6 years. You gave me hope. You gave me someone to trust. You gave me a little girl who draws dragons and thinks I'm a princess worth saving. She really likes you. I really like her. She paused. And I really like her father. She kissed him right there in the lobby, in front of security cameras and executives and everyone who had ever looked through him like glass. For the first time in his life, Beckett Cole was truly seen. The lobby of Kensington Tower gleamed in spring sunshine. Same marble floors, same crystal chandeliers. But now on the wall near reception hung a framed child's drawing, a seven-headed dragon protecting a princess who held a sword. Beckett Cole still worked at Kensington Tower, but not as a janitor. He was head of security now, hired personally by the CEO, his wife. Vivian Cole walked through the lobby, hand in hand with Wren. The girl was 8 now, taller, still a whirlwind of dark curls and bright knowing eyes. I'm drawing our family for the art contest, Wren announced. You, me, Daddy, and baby Oliver. Oliver's not born yet, Vivian laughed, one hand resting on her rounded belly. I know, but he will be, and then our family will be complete. Beckett appeared, still wearing his faded blue bracelet. Wren ran to him. Daddy! He scooped her up. Vivian reached them, kissed him softly. Ready to go home? Wren tugged Vivian's hand. Mom, can we get ice cream on the way? It was still new. That word. Wren had started using it 3 months ago, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. Every time she said it, Vivian's heart expanded. Only if you finish your homework first. Deal, Wren grinned. Daddy, Mom said yes to ice cream. Beckett raised an eyebrow. I heard conditions attached to that. Yes. Details, Wren said with a dramatic wave of her hand. They all laughed. The easy, comfortable laughter of a family. Always, Beckett said, I'm always ready to go home. They walked toward the exit. Sunlight streamed through massive windows, turning marble floors to gold. Wren tugged Beckett's sleeve. Daddy, remember when you said you were nobody? I remember. You were wrong. She looked at Vivian, at the family they had become, at the baby growing in her mother's belly. You're the most somebody of anybody. Beckett looked at his daughter, at his wife, at the life he never imagined possible. 3 years ago, he had lost Sarah. He thought his heart would never heal. He believed love happened once, if you were lucky, and never again. He had been wrong. Yeah, he said softly. I think maybe I am. They walked out into Chicago sunshine, a shepherd who had found his home, a princess who had found her protector, a little girl who had seen truth all along. Some people spend their whole lives invisible, waiting in shadows, watching from margins, believing they don't deserve to be seen, and some are simply waiting for the right person to finally see them. Beckett Cole had been invisible for most of his life. He had hidden in plain sight. He had protected people who never knew his name. He had loved and lost and raised a daughter alone. But on a September night in Chicago, a woman in a white dress had looked at him, really looked, past the mop and the coveralls and the forgettable face. And she had seen him, not the janitor, not the operative, not the ghost, just Beckett, just a father, just a man who wanted to protect the people he loved. That was enough. That had always been enough. The sun set over Lake Michigan, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. In a modest house in a quiet neighborhood, a family sat down to dinner together. A father who had learned that strength wasn't always about violence. A mother who had learned that power wasn't always about control. A daughter who had known all along that broken crayons still color. And somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. Someone needed help. Someone needed protecting. But tonight, that was someone else's mission. Tonight, Beckett Cole was exactly where he belonged. Home.